If your resume has 5 different careers on it, people instantly assume you couldn't figure your life out. But psychologists are now saying the exact opposite. You might have been born with a shape that's completely different from the so-called M-shaped people. This shape is called comb-shaped, and you've probably never heard that term before because nobody ever told you. So where does this shape actually come from? Why do some HR managers secretly search for exactly this kind of person, while the rest of society just sits there judging them? And here's the biggest question. If you've ever felt ashamed of your career history, was that shame actually pointed in the completely wrong direction? And if learning the real meaning of this word makes you want to look at your whole resume in a new light, stick around, because that explanation is coming up near the end. You might be someone who's bounced through 3 or 4 different industries in the last 10 years. Maybe you started in marketing, then suddenly you were running operations at a restaurant, then one day you were doing freelance graphic design, and now you're maybe trying to learn something completely new. Every time, a fresh start. Every time, a new line gets added to your resume. And every single time at the Thanksgiving dinner table, your uncle carves the turkey and asks the same question. So what exactly are you doing now? You laugh. You give a short answer. But deep down, you're asking yourself if you're really doing something wrong. Meanwhile, sitting right next to you, your brother has been at the same company, at the same desk, for 20 years. And your family calls him stable and responsible. Both of you can be successful, but society only respects one of those stories. If that moment feels familiar, this video was made exactly for you. And if you're the opposite, someone who's sat at the same desk at the same company for 12 years and gotten known as the responsible one, stay anyway, because this video is going to show you the truth behind your own sense of safety too. Back in 1996, a study published in the Journal of Counseling Psychology by Actor Lubinsky and Benbow showed that true multipotentiality, meaning having equally strong talent in many directions at once, doesn't actually exist in most people. It's a rare exception. The number is small, but the story is big. So who are the rest of us, the ones who keep switching careers? The rest of us are people whose brains aren't built for just one thing. They're built for many connected skills at once. According to Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta numbers from 2023, people who voluntarily switched jobs saw their pay grow by an average of 7.7%, while people who stayed in the same job only saw a 5.5% increase. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, back in January of 2024, the average American worker only stayed at a job for 3.9 years. And economists have a theory called dual labor market theory, and it says the job market is really split into 2 halves, one that's steady and safe, and one that's unstable and always shifting, and surviving in that second half takes a completely different kind of skill. Honestly, I can't tell you for sure that these numbers play out exactly the same way in every single industry. But this pattern has shown up so many times in so many different studies that you can't just brush it off as a coincidence anymore. But if these numbers are true, the question becomes, which side does your own story actually fall on? This is exactly where you need to understand the difference between M-shaped and comb-shaped. An M-shaped person has 2 or 3 deep spikes, just like the letter M, 2 tall peaks with a deep valley in the middle. But a comb-shaped person is a completely different thing. Think about a comb. It has a bunch of teeth, all roughly the same height, lined up right next to each other. Each tooth looks separate. But the comb only actually works because they're all together. Even if one tooth breaks, the rest of the teeth still get the job done and untangle your hair. Your career works the exact same way. Every job is one tooth. First, you start doubting yourself over it. Then your family starts questioning you. Then you get filtered out of a resume screening. Then the whole industry suddenly collapses, and the people who only had one skill end up out on the street while you're back on your feet the very next morning with a different tooth. There's a concept here called FAR transfer, and it means taking a skill you learned in one place and applying it in a completely different field. The crisis handling you learned on a packed Saturday night at a restaurant comes in handy the moment a client suddenly changes a deadline at midnight. That's not a coincidence. That's a transferable pattern of recognition. And this thing builds up layer by layer. First you doubt yourself, then your family questions you. So by now you might be thinking, okay, I get it. I'm not broken. I'm just built differently. This video could have ended right here with a nice motivational line. But no, wait. Because this is exactly where the real problem starts. And this problem is not your fault. Nobody ever told you this because the HR industry itself doesn't want to admit that its own system is outdated. The problem is the hiring system itself. Most companies still rely on old ATS software like Workday or Taleo. An applicant tracking system, or ATS for short, is used to scanning resumes and expecting the same job title year after year. When it sees 5 different titles on your resume, the algorithm gets confused, and it might even reject you automatically. Picture this. Your resume shows up on a screen for only 3 seconds. Then it quietly slides into the reject folder. So the problem isn't in your brain. The problem is in a system that's still running on a straight-line career model from decades ago. You are not broken. The system is outdated and nobody has fixed it yet. Here's where you need to reframe things. Economists use a term for this: kind learning environment versus wicked learning environment. In simple terms, a kind environment means the rules are clear, feedback is instant, and doing the same thing over and over keeps making you better, like in chess or surgery. But today's job market is mostly wicked, meaning the rules change without warning. Feedback shows up late, and sometimes the feedback is just wrong. One day the rules just change. Nobody tells you when. In an environment like that, someone who's buried deep in just one skill is actually at more risk, because if that industry collapses, they don't have a second tooth to fall back on. Comb-shaped people always have that second tooth. Now think about an elephant. Biologically, an elephant's trunk has more than 40,000 separate muscles in it and no bones at all. Why does it need that much backup? Because even if one single muscle stops working, the rest of them just keep the job going. That's not a weakness. That's a survival design. The human immune system works the same way. If one line of defense fails, the body immediately switches on another one. Your multiple careers are the exact same kind of backup. If one industry falls apart, your other teeth keep you standing. Here's the honest part. Not every career switch happens for the same reason. Some people genuinely run out of fear. Running away the moment things get hard is just a habit for them. And some people walk out of every place carrying one more tooth with them. There's a simple test to tell the difference. Ask yourself, from the place you left, did you actually bring something with you that you're still using today? If the answer is yes, you didn't run, you built something. You might think that's an easy line to draw. No, it's really not easy. It just demands a different kind of honesty. And if you still can't get back on your feet, the next step is a bank loan notice, and then that same shame coming right back in front of your own kid. So let's come back to the comb. You can never untangle a deep knot in your hair with just one tooth of a comb. You need all the teeth side by side working together. Every job change in your life, every new beginning, is really just another tooth growing in. And on the day life throws you a real tangled mess, a layoff, an industry crash, some sudden change, you won't need one spike. You'll need the whole comb. I'm not completely sure myself exactly how this plays out in every single industry. But honestly, even after watching this video, you might never be completely sure whether you ran or whether you built something, and maybe that uncertainty is actually your real answer. Your heart rate spiking, lying awake at night, staring at a blank title box on LinkedIn, all of that is really just different chapters of the same story. So now let me tell you the truth. You are not broken, and you are not someone who can't stick with one thing. You are comb-shaped, a design your uncle at that Thanksgiving dinner table doesn't know about, and probably never will. Now you have that knowledge, and he doesn't. So tell me in the comments, do you see yourself as one fixed spike or a comb that keeps growing? And if you're a comb, what was your third career actually, and which tooth did you carry with you from it? Write it down and let me know, because I genuinely want to see how many teeth you all have grown by now.